To have passion in life is everything.
What's your Everest?
Oh,
Is it
yeah.
that 200-inch buck?
They just look so impressive when they're wide.
Especially running away.
Welcome to this week's episode of Eastmans Elevated.
It's like a think tank for outdoor activity.
Sounds exactly like my hunting. Just always thinking about it, always trying to evolve it and make it better.
Here's your host, Brian Barney.
Hey, what's happening, guys? I got a brand new podcast for you. So today I have on Sam Soholt. Sam's just a great guy. I met him a couple of years ago, and then we've tried to get together on a filming photograph project, and it hasn't quite happened, but he's just a great guy and does so much for our public lands. He's got his public land bus, and we just sat down one morning and just had a great conversation. We talk about TAC, the Total Archery Challenge. That's fresh in our minds. He just got done shooting it. We talk public lands, and then we just dive into hunting. We talk about his 2018 season and what he has planned and tags he has, and then spot and stalking and just Western hunting, and how to get better at it, how experience is the best teacher, but just a real great, engaging, authentic conversation with Sam Soholt. So I really enjoyed it. I know you guys will enjoy it too. Sponsor for today's show is High Mountain Seasonings. High Mountain Seasonings, they're a great company. They just make everything for processing your game. They make jerky seasonings. They make snack stick kits. They make sausage kits. They make marinades for steaks, and they're just great products. In fact, I just got done yesterday making a bunch of jerky out of this Nevada mule deer. I have so much great meat from the Axis in Hawaii, and then my caribou, and so sitting pretty good on steaks and sitting pretty good on burgers. So yeah, I decided to make up some jerky as I'm all out. So this will be what I live on here for hunting season. So I've got, I don't know how many pounds, but like 6 big Ziplocs full of jerky. But High Mountain Seasoning, they just have step-by-step instructions, great seasonings, a bunch of different flavors. Make sure to check them out. They're a great company. High Mountain Seasonings, thanks to those guys for sponsoring the podcast. And with that, yeah, us at the Eastmans crew, we're just going like heck right now. I think I touched bases with about everybody from the Eastman staff today, just checking in on things. Todd Helms, he's our editor there, just a great guy. If you guys harvest a trophy animal this season, make sure you get a hold of Todd. He'll help you with the writing. He'll help you, photographs, organize everything, get a plan. It's so cool when you can put your story in print like that in the magazine, and then you also get some great stuff, some great gear that we give away with articles that we print in our magazine. So make sure to get a hold of Todd, touch bases with Scott on the podcast, see what our plan is there. Make sure I've got good content going out to you guys as I'm gone on all these trips. Talk to Guy about the filming, Lindsay about the editing. I sending her all the footage from this caribou hunt, this Nevada muley hunt. I am just so proud at what we put together on these deals. And yeah, what a start to the season for me. A really nice caribou, and then to help my buddies, my good friends in Alaska, to also help them achieve their goals and harvest nice caribou, and then go on this Nevada hunt, place I've never been, mountain I've never seen, and to be able to figure it out and get on bucks and then harvest a really nice, tall, heavy buck. I'm just elated, just ecstatic. This is just a great way to start the season. Gonna need to get some work done here, and then I can't wait to get off to Colorado and start it over again. So yeah, I better get this thing rolling. So great conversation between me and Sam Soholt, Eastmans Elevated. Here we go. Okay, I'm live here with Sam Soholt on Eastmans Elevated. Sam, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for being on. We've stayed in contact. I tried to get you to film a hunt for me. You had filmed one of the Eastmans guys, Brandon Mason, years ago,
Yep.
and we just haven't been able to connect. But last year we met at TAC, the Total Archery Challenge in Big Sky, and then you were back up there again this year, right?
Yep. I was just up there for the whole weekend. Pretty good time. My dad actually flew out for it too, so it was a good spot to hang out.
Oh, how cool. Your dad flew in and shot it with you?
He did. Yep. He shot both Saturday and Sunday.
Wow.
Yeah.
they've done such a great job at those events. We were talking earlier, and they changed it this year to tee times, and that seemed to get rid of some of the bottleneck, after you ride the chair up and at the top getting started. So I think that was a good move.
Yeah, that really helped a lot. I mean, I went to both Snowbird and Big Sky last year, and it seemed like there would be a few spots where, like you said, it would bottleneck down. You'd be waiting 15, 20 minutes just to shoot the next target. And so it's what it looked like for, at both events I went to this year at Terry Peak and Big Sky with the tee times. It really kept it at a nice, steady pace, and everybody got to go through at their own, speed, and nobody was kind of pushing each other or on top of each other. It worked out really well.
Oh, nice. Yeah, and they do a great job at those events too, setting up such challenging shots. Like I remember the old 3D courses or the old shoots that you'd go to, it seemed like all the shots were 20 yards to 40 yards, and it was fairly easy. You'd have to shoot through some limbs and stuff, but these total archery challenges, they're a whole new level. They challenge even the best archers. If you can get through a day and not bust an arrow, you shot really well.
Yeah, you shot very well. The course that I shot at Big Sky, I think probably the average distance of shot was over 60 yards. So it really, really forces you to stretch it out and kind of amplifies all your imperfections and shows you just how good or bad of an archer you really are.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, amplifies your shooting. When you have to shoot at those long distances, you can't have any flaws in your shooting. You absolutely have to get everything right and execute a good shot. And it's also, it's tougher to aim on 3D targets than it is to aim at a bullseye, it seems. You just have that body. You don't have the exact spot, but it forces you to pick that spot and hold right there and then execute your shot.
Yeah. And what we've done the last couple of years is, a lot like rings, because a lot of times an animal will be, the target will be at a quartering to or quartering away angle or whatever it might be. And so we came up with a scoring system. It was actually Remy Warren came up with a scoring system, but you do kill, wound, miss. And so you get a point for hitting it where it would kill the animal. You get a -1 for hitting it where it would wound the animal, and then you get a clean 0 if you miss completely. So it makes it a little bit more like a hunting scenario, because the last thing obviously we want to do is to wound an animal. So it helps you focus down, and if you can get through the course with a pretty good score, you're shooting well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it gets you so ready for season two, standing on those steep hillsides, and you realize real quick how important leveling your bow is on those ski lifts and those steep hillsides. You'll draw back and you'll think your bow is level and everything feels comfortable, and you'll look at your bubble and you might have to tilt the top end of your bow 4 inches to make things right to where it hits where you need it to. And anytime you cant your bow, if you cant your bow to the left, your arrow hits to the left. If you cant your bow to the right, it hits to the right. But it really gets you in that frame of mind like you would be in the high country hunting.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, like you're saying. You feel like you're really having to torque your bow to get it back to level, but that's exactly right. Because if you don't, I saw a lot of arrows blow up this weekend, and I'm sure that a lot of it was just not paying attention to the bubble. Standing there thinking you're on level ground.
Yeah, the carnage of arrows is hilarious by some of those targets, isn't it? Because it is just all rock background. If you miss the target, you probably got a 50-50 chance, would you say, that your arrow's busted and shattered?
Yeah, I'd say about 50-50.
Yep. And that other 50%, you probably messed up your field point or something like that, hitting something hard, but there isn't much soft dirt up there.
Yep. No, I'd say it's a 50% chance of blowing up your arrow, and then a 50% of the other 50% is you're just losing your arrow. It's just launching into the abyss. So
these arrow companies have to love these total archery challenges.
Yeah. I wonder how many thousands of. I think, over the course of 3 days, I think. And not all of them were breaking on rocks and stuff, but I think I broke and lost probably I think I was at like 3 arrows a day average.
Hmm.
That was
Oh, you shot well.
Yeah, I did okay. So I think I lost about 9 arrows on the weekend.
Gotcha. Yeah,
Yep.
that's not too bad for that course. It's humbling, isn't it? No matter what your skill level is, you go through that course and it's humbling, you know. It's just a lot of high degree of difficulty shots and yeah, long distances
Yeah.
and
Yeah, there's always the one shot that's like 125 yards. And if you don't hit the target the first time, you're like, well, I got to shoot again.
of course.
And I think it's more just to watch the arrow like be in the air that long. But yeah, I definitely lost a couple on some long ones this last weekend.
Yeah, it makes you better. And the one thing, it's kind of like hunting too, in that you can't let your shooting, you can't get inside your own head. You can't overthink it. You have to just keep executing good shots. And if you miss a target, you can't let it get to you. But I really relate it to hunting in that way, that hunting on stalks, if you mess up a stalk, you can really get inside your own head and then mess up the next couple in front of you. Or if you mess up a shot and miss, you know, all of a sudden that gets inside your head and that's all you can think about. You really have to get yourself in the right headspace when shooting at the TAC and also when hunting the backcountry, because, you know, bad things are going to happen that you're going to have to overcome, but you can be your biggest obstacle sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. When you mess something up, it's usually only by 6 inches, and that's the 6 inches between your left ear and your right ear.
I like that, Sam. I'm going to use that. That's perfect. Yeah, it is. It's wild how complicated our minds are, how they work, and you know, all tied back to our ego and
Yep.
confidence, and it's just wild how that whole system works. And you know, you can sure throw a bug in the system when you do something negative, or what I hate are the stupid mistakes. Like I've got a mover pin, and if you
Yep.
forget to move your mover pin on the next target and you shoot it for the wrong distance, so you
Yep.
still execute a good shot, but you watch your arrow just sail over the top of his back. You know, I hate those mental mistakes. Those ones kill
Yep.
me.
Yep. That's the worst.
Yeah. What? Did you bring the bus?
I did. Yep. Yep. Brought the bus up. Originally, the plan was to park it up where all like the vendor booths are and everything. But they're doing a bunch of construction this year at Big Sky, so weren't able to get it parked up top this time. But that's okay. I'll have it. I'm guessing I'll bring it back out next year, and we'll have a little bit better plan of where we're going to park it and be able to do the full setup so people can come check it out.
Yeah, what a heck of a build, Sam. I think that's so cool, and you really, I think of it as the public land bus because you bring so much awareness to public lands, and you're traveling around to so many of these different gatherings, and you're at these shoots in South Dakota and Montana. You're spreading a lot of positivity for public lands and for public land hunting. I just think it's so great, and I really enjoyed watching your build on the bus. You know, watching you. I like when guys put their own sweat and their own hard work into things, their own sweat equity, you know, and that's what you did on that bus. You did pretty much everything you could do yourself. You did. I think that's really cool, Sam.
Yeah. No. Well, thank you. It's been a really fun project. You know, last summer, you know, in the moment, there was definitely a lot of days where I would walk outside and look at the bus and go, what the hell am I doing? Like, you know, like why did I ever start looking for buses on Craigslist? But once it started to come together and you start to see it transform into, you know, kind of this vision that you had before you got going, you know, once it turned into my rolling hunting camp, it was, the reward was definitely worth it. And it's been really fun to see how far and wide the message has spread, and, you know, the fact that the bus has kind of become a little symbol for public lands and really just helping people want to go get a little bit more educated about what's happening with public lands and, you know, what they can do to help.
Yeah, it brings awareness to the whole situation, which we have to fight to protect.
Yep.
Public lands and hunting in general. I know I'm going on this. I leave for this caribou hunt. In fact, I fly out this Tuesday coming up. But my buddy made me aware that they almost took away that hunt, the hunt off the Hall Road, where 5 miles either side of the. It's either 5 miles either side of the pipeline, I think is how it's
Yep.
worded, is bow hunting only. And it's just a treasure for the blue collar working bow hunter, because you can do the trip inexpensively and go hunt caribou on public lands, and you have this Dalton highway to kind of move along and hunt 500 different miles of this haul road along the pipeline. So it's such a great hunt for both residents and non-residents. But they were one vote away from taking away that hunt this year and turning it into a subsistence hunt, which, there has to be subsistence hunting up there, and I get that. But to take away this public land bow hunt would be a travesty, and we just really have to fight to protect everything we have, because it's so nice that you don't have to be wealthy to participate in these adventures across the the lower 48, Alaska, Hawaii. It's just public land, and public land hunting is such a treasure. We just have to continue to fight for it.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. I mean, if public lands go to the wayside, it truly does hunting. It's no longer a heritage, right? So it truly becomes a sport for the wealthy, and that's not to say that there's if it would all go private, it's not to say that you couldn't knock on some doors and get access, but the ability to, for a guy like me to just, pull up to a trailhead and walk for as long as I want to go onto public land. Like, if that goes away, you got to wonder what the percentage of people who would even, bother to go out. Like, what would be the swing when it wouldn't all go to private land? So it's something we need to be concerned about, especially with dwindling hunter numbers, and the baby boomer population starting to age out here in the next 10 to 15 years. It's becoming, a point in our lives where we need to be on the offensive rather than just reactionary, because buying, hunting licenses is soon going to be not enough.
Yeah, I think you're right. We just have to continue to fight, and especially our generation, and also to reflect hunting in a positive light, and to help guys like it. It's tough to get started in hunting if you don't have family to kind of guide you into it or introduce it to you. Like you really need like a mentor, or just with social media, guys are able to ask me questions and kind of get started and able to point them in the right direction, the right archery shot. But it's so great, like this sport that we have, and I call it a sport, but it's really shaped my life. It's given me passion in my life and something to work hard for, something to enjoy, and it's given me adventure. It's given me so many great things, and then it's taught me so many great lessons in life, about hard work and about discipline, and I just have such a love for it that I just want to fight to protect it, not only for myself but future generations.
Yeah, I think, I use a quote from Teddy Roosevelt a lot, and it says the greatest good for the greatest number of people includes the number within the womb of time. So what he's trying to say is, like you said, just for future generations. So the people who are not even born yet, like just protecting it so that those people have the ability that if they decide to, they can go out and explore and adventure and learn all of these things that you and I have learned through, spending basically the majority of our time in the wilderness, things like patience and adventure and, and values and different stuff. So it's definitely, public lands are one of the country's greatest resources, and it's definitely something worth fighting for and trying to protect.
Yeah, and the public land animals, are a renewable resource, and it's just to be able to go out on lands and be able to view elk and deer and bear. It's such a cool experience to be immersed into nature, and we can't let that go away, both for hunting and just for enjoyment for the overall population. It's such a cool model that we have here in the United States, and we just have to continue it. But I think it's great with social media, like now we're able to get out the message on public lands, or when public lands are threatened, we're able to get the word out, and we're able to kind of unite as sportsmen and have a voice, which I think is so important, where, I think years ago some of this stuff would have got passed and we wouldn't even known about it.
Right. it would have all come down the pipeline, and we would have just it would have just been a new way of life. But yeah, you're exactly right. The fact that we can almost instantaneously unite as a force and be able to send messages and emails, and people can post links to, writing to so you'll, send a message to all of your local senators or your state senators or national senators at the, that are part of your state. It's made reacting to these types of things so much easier and so much faster that, our voice as sportsmen gets heard in a big hurry rather than, like you said, in the past, it'd be interesting to see, because right now is not the first time that public lands have been under threat. It's kind of been an ongoing debate over, since Roosevelt, decided to, put things into national forests and national parks and have the federal government basically manage large tracts of land. That was not a popular thing back when he did it. Fortunately, it was, we have seen the benefits of it. And so I think that's why we're so quick to, fight to protect it. But yeah, the social media thing, as bad as it can be sometimes in these situations, it definitely helps a lot.
Some of these senators or representatives, of Representatives, some of them have to be so far out of touch with sportsmen to be able to try to get a bill like that. Like, I'd hate to be those guys. Like, I see the bombardment when they try to push an initiative that is going to take away our public lands. They absolutely get bombarded where they almost have to shut their accounts down at that point, So I think we're starting to get our point across.
Yeah, I think so. And then really that's what it's going to take. And I think the most inspiring thing that I've seen it from it all is in hunting, just like any activity, there's a lot of infighting. So you got the guys that, there's fighting between rifle and archery hunters, and there's fighting between archery hunters and other archery hunters, depending on what equipment you use. And there's fighting between whether you hunt public land or private land. But I think, the one thing everybody can agree on, regardless if you hunt both public and private or all private, is the fact that public lands are important to our hunting heritage and need to be protected. So it's really been kind of I wish it wasn't an issue in the first place, but it really has been a uniting factor among sportsmen, and I think that's a very positive thing moving forward.
Yeah, the infighting is it's toxic. You can't, like, just being a person and social media, and I need to be on there, and I love sharing things with other people, and I love the support of our community, but there's also some negative that goes along with it too, that you don't want to be looking at your phone all the time. You want to be experiencing life, and the social media is addictive. But yeah, we have to work hard to have healthy relationships with that social media so we can enjoy our life and not be looking at our phone the whole time. And I know for me personally, not that I struggle with it, but I'm constantly aware of it and thinking of it and how I can have a healthy relationship with my phone and with social media, being able to share things, supporting other hunters out there. And really, it's a mindset too. We talk about the infighting is just supporting other hunters, supporting hunters that are more successful than you, supporting hunters that are less successful than you, supporting hunters that hunt a different way than you. Like, just being happy for other people. It seems like you're so much happier in life that way. Like that. Getting caught up and being jealous of somebody harvesting a big animal, it doesn't do you any good.
No.
You're better off to be happy for that person, but it's taken years to work at it. It seems like the natural human instinct or reaction is jealousy, and so you really have to fight against it and be happy for other guys and support other guys, and it seems like you're happier in life that way.
Yeah, I completely agree. In some sense of the sport, hunting is a competition because we're all out there. Mostly it's a competition with ourselves, right? So we're always trying to be better hunters, better woodsmen, better, whatever it may be, whatever, skill you're trying to hone. And a lot of that, comes down to you're trying to harvest an older and a more mature animal. And sometimes like you've worked your ass off, and then some guy who's hardly hunting goes out and shoots some giant animal, and it's really tough not to be like, well, damn it, like why didn't that work out for me? Like I've put in the time. But you're exactly right. All of us need to look in the mirror and do a better job of supporting other people that hunt, regardless of the way they do it. Because the more infighting we do, the weaker our voice as a whole is. And we need, more than ever, we need that voice to be very strong.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. Yeah, and you do a good job of it. It seems like you're always supporting guys and positive and reflect hunting in a positive light. You've done a really good job at it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I try to, I have a pretty small voice in the whole thing, but I like to think that even if there's, one person that's a non-hunter that, would happen to look at my page, if they can be like, oh, like what this guy is doing pretty cool. He's, it's not just, me standing over a bunch of animals or something like that. I like to, through photography, I like to really tell the story of the entire experience, or, even if it's a single image, trying to capture, an image that somebody can look at and really understand what was happening in that moment. I like to try to portray it as best I can to show all of the positives that come from hunting, and not just, we're not just out there trying to shoot an animal just to shoot an animal.
Yeah, you are so skilled behind the lens, and that's kind of how you started your name, or made your name, was filming and photography, for other hunters, going along on hunts and then trying to capture their hunt for them, right?
Yep, that's exactly right. So I was, a lot of people ask if I went to film or photography school, and no, I didn't. I've never had a formal class of any type in the photo world. I actually got my undergrad in business administration, and then went on to get my MBA from North Dakota State. But growing up, I'd always been kind of interested in, mostly film. I'd always thought about video more than photography. And my final year in college, I had started archery hunting due to the badgering of my brother to get a bow and start hunting. And so I started archery hunting, and I had a really successful first season. I think beginner's luck for sure. And I was so fired up about hunting, and had, always wanted to be part of a hunting show or whatever it might be. And so I just sat down at the computer and started cold emailing and cold calling every hunting show I could find a contact for. And one of the people I emailed was Bill Winke at Midwest Whitetail. And he was actually one of the first people to email me back just a couple hours after I had contacted him. And next thing I knew, I was in Albia, Iowa, on an interview over Christmas break, my last year of college, and got the job. And that summer moved down to Albia, and kind of started my path into video production and editing and producing. And that was the start of it. I just became an intern for a whitetail show and moved to Iowa. So, and then from there, just, kind of kept picking away at getting better at it. I moved to Colorado and helped my brother run an archery shop for about a year, and was producing videos for that shop, and then took a job as a sales rep in Montana, but randomly met a guy at a coffee shop who needed an extra camera guy for a bear hunt. So I went up and did that, which led to, filming Coast Guard Alaska, and then a show for the History Channel, and then which led to meeting a guy who hired me for my first photo gig. And then, so it just apparently I was on the right path in the photo and video world, because it seemed like every time I would start to kind of move away from it, like another door would open back into photo and video, and then I would just go right through that door and dive back in. So, but yeah, most people they shoot photos first and then transition to video, and I did the opposite. I started all in video and then transitioned to mostly stills, and now I'm probably 90% still photographer and 10% video.
That's such a cool story, Sam. It's just how us guys learn. Like if we're passionate about something, we're interested in it, like we dive into it and we learn as much as we can, and we seem to retain the information better. It sounds like you went through college and and education is. I think it's good to focus on what you like to do, and then I think it comes naturally. And I think that's the way us guys learn. The same thing with me. I started hunting first, and then started learning about photography and filming, and started diving into that world. So we all have our own path and our own journey. But I really think that's how us guys learn, is to be extremely interested in something, and then dive in and try to learn and try to improve and try to get better. And it's a fulfilling life too when you're excited about things. I think it's such a cool way to go. And yeah, it's such a great story of you just learning on the fly and making these connections. And that's the other thing too, is getting into video and film work is tough. For me, getting into making any sort of money in the hunting industry is tough. It's almost like you want to be an actor, you want to be a rock star. Like there just isn't very many guys that make it. But
Right.
I think the key is just to keep grinding and working at it. And like you said, cold calling all these TV shows and getting so many no's, but you just weren't going to take no for an answer. You kept calling, you got the interview, you made it happen, and then you started learning on the fly, and then that led to your next connection. And
Yep.
it's been the same way for me, making connections in really small steps, and sometimes it seems stagnant or slow, but if you love something, ultimately, I think you can do it or get better at it, and it's not going to be easy to make a living at it, but there is a path and there is a way.
Yep, that's absolutely right. And it's, when it comes down to it, both of us work in the hunting industry, but it is a very small industry when you really look at it. And so there's, I get asked all the time, like, well, how do I get a job in the hunting industry? And I don't think I've met two people that have had the same path, like, to get there. So whether it be, film and photography, or you get a marketing job or a sales job or whatever it might be, like there's no good way to dive into the hunting industry. And it definitely all comes down to like what you're passionate about. And if you're willing to, put in the work, if you're willing to do the networking and put in the work, because there was several years where I was, filming and doing photography, and I was running, negative balance in my bank accounts. So, picking up little side jobs and whatever, selling everything that I owned to make rent or, buy food and whatever. So, I think it was a solid 2.5 years where I was pretty terrified to ever look at my bank account.
That it hits home, Sam, because I'm the same way. Like I had sacrificed so much to get where I'm at, years and years and years of doing things for free and submitting articles for free and writing and photography, and then trying to be an adventure bow hunter, and I don't have unlimited funds, and so trying to just travel to another state, like you say, I'd be at a zero balance, or I'd be on a credit card, just trying to hunt a different state and have this great adventure and immerse myself in it. And so I can definitely relate to that. But it is, if it's something that you really want to do, you're gonna have to sacrifice. You're gonna have to do things for free, put in the work, put in the effort, and it may take years to pay off. But eventually, if it's your passion, I think you can work your way into anything.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Yep.
Just time and pressure, like everything in life.
Time and pressure. Yes,
Time
that's
and pressure.
it. Well, and you're trying to transition now into hunting a lot more for yourself. It sounds like you've got a bunch of hunts planned for this season.
Yeah, I've been really fortunate to kind of shift that ratio. So I definitely got into this because I like to hunt, right? So I wanted to be able to do that as much as possible. And the photo and video thing seemed like a good entry point in, but I've been working with a lot of, photo clients for a long time that I've worked out deals now where I can, be in the field with, either on my own or with family and friends and other ambassadors of different companies and stuff, and shoot photos along the way. rather than having to always be hired for a specific hunt for somebody. So yeah, I've got this fall will be great, especially doing another big tour in the bus. The original plan was to do the bus thing for a year, but really the whole project didn't get enough eyes on it until the very end of last year. So I figure this is an opportunity to blow that out of the water and do another round and produce a lot more video and photo content for people to follow along. But yeah, I've got a big season ahead. I think the only hunt that I'm actually filming for somebody else is I've done 2 years now with Jason Matzinger, and this will be the third year with him the first couple weeks of September. But other than that, I'll be chasing critters for myself. I've got an elk tag and an antelope tag in Montana, and then I think I have 6 deer tags between 5 states. So it's going to be a busy fall. And the big game stuff will take me through the end of November. And then I think I'll probably try to sneak in a couple duck hunts here and there. But, yeah, it'll be a fun fall of moving towards chasing more stuff for me and instead of being always behind the lens.
Yeah, that's really neat. You've structured your life in a way where you get to hunt quite a bit. That's great. That's what we're all striving for. It takes a lot of years and a lot of sacrifice. But yeah, it sounds like you got it. Did you say 6 buck tags in 5 states? Are they mostly whitetail tags?
So it's I've got 3 and 3. So I've got I guess it could be. So in North Dakota, South Dakota, and Nebraska, I could actually shoot either. Or I got Montana too, so I could shoot either. But I'm kind of structuring it as 3 mule deer hunts and 3 whitetail hunts. So I've got tags in North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, and Kansas this year, and Montana, I guess. So it'll be busy.
Yeah. So you like that? What would you call that area around South Dakota, Nebraska, eastern Montana, kind of that country? What would you call that?
I mean, it's more like Great Plains, like Badlandsy, breaks country hunting. Yeah, I really do enjoy that. In Nebraska, it'll be probably in the sand hills a little bit, creek bottom stuff. But yeah, and a lot of it will be really a lot of the same attributes as like the Missouri breaks country in Montana. It's just I'm really excited. I drew it's a hard tag to draw, but in North Dakota, as a non-resident, you have to apply for an any deer tag so you can shoot a mule deer. But I drew that tag this year, so I'm going with my good friend Nolan Berg, who lives in North Dakota, and we're going to go out for towards the end of October, I believe, and see if we can't go do some spot and stock mule deer hunting out in the Badlands.
Oh, how fun. Yeah, I love that broken country of the Badlands. Like, I've fallen in love with eastern Montana, and I haven't got into the Dakotas, but it's definitely piqued my interest. Like, I want to get in there and hunt some mule deer. It's kind of, I'd almost say it's like one of the sleeper states of out west. Everybody thinks Colorado and Wyoming, Idaho, Nevada, and those states, but the Dakotas have some great mule deer hunting, and it's really fun to spot and stalk in that broken country and all those coulees, and it's fairly open where you can glass it. I mean, there is cover in that and thicker timber in places, but it's almost more open country where you can glass and get a chance at that true spot and stalk mule deer.
Yeah, and South Dakota, but Nebraska too. I mean, really, like if you're looking at like real open country, like that's another good one. Is just to be able to, like, the sandhills is like you're hunting on a golf ball. I mean, there's not many real high vantage points, but there could be a deer in every little divot, and so you can spend, you get to spend the whole day, like, really, picking your way through that kind of stuff. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, so challenging too. The spot and stalk for those muleys, they're switched on and so iconic to the West, but I love spot and stalking those deer.
Yeah. I love doing it too. I haven't had nearly the luck that you have, or I shouldn't say luck, the success that you've had. It took me 4 years to finally successfully shoot a spot and stalk mule deer, but I feel like now that I got that one down, like that one out of the way, I feel like things will start to fall into place a little bit easier going forward. You know how it goes. Like, you just put that that experience, like that success, like up on the pedestal, and it's like almost no matter what you do, something goes wrong.
Yeah,
So,
if it can go wrong, it will on a stock, and it's so difficult. And you almost need to like learn from your experiences. And I'm the same way. Like I think you said 4 years to harvest your first one. Like that's what it takes. It takes gaining that experience and that knowledge that goes into your instincts to make better decisions when you're on the stock. And you have to figure out how to keep yourself calm in that situation, and then you'll get everything right, and you'll get your stock all right. And then you'll mess up the shot because you're so excited. So then you have to learn to kind of calm yourself during the moment too and execute a good shot. It's extremely difficult. Like sitting here talking about it, it's like, oh yeah, harvest a mule deer buck spot and stock. But it's one of the more difficult challenges that you can take on as a hunter or in life in general. I think it is so difficult.
Yeah. So, so last year I was on a hunt with Ben Gatormson. Do you know Ben at all?
I don't know.
Good buddy of mine. He's a good hunter, but so I went on this deer and put a good stock on it, and I ended up missing the deer 3 times. So, and during my stock, he found a little 3-point muley shed, and I got done with the stock, and he goes, "Here, I got you this shed, so it'll remind you that one time you missed a deer 3 times." And I'm back out in Montana. I've been riding around with him, and he's got that shed sitting on the dash of his truck. And so now every time I'm riding around with him, I get to think about that experience all over again.
Well, it happens to all of us. We all miss it. Gosh, I've harvested some really nice animals and I've had good success, but I've also missed a lot too. And I've messed up some great encounters with some giant deer, just mind-blowing deer that I've messed up. But it is, you have to learn from it and evolve. Like you have to learn those hard lessons to improve and get better. So, on executing a shot, what would you say some of the keys or some of the lessons that you've learned? Like, what do you, when you're executing a shot at an animal now, or you're getting a shot, what is your shot process?
So I think the one thing I keep reminding myself, like during it, is that to not rush. You always have, everything moves, like it seems like it's taking forever when you're in that moment. But after several, encounters and trying to rush things, I know now that you always have more time than you think you do in the moment. So I really need to focus on just settling down into that situation and executing the shot like I know I can shoot, rather than just trying to, as soon as my pins hit the animal, slapping that trigger. So it's a hard thing to do because, if you're not getting excited in that moment, there's probably something wrong with you. But I think like that's part of the fun, is trying to harness that and try to keep yourself calm enough in the moment and know that you have enough time to execute a good shot. And then you can get as excited as you want after the arrow's gone. But it's taken me a long time to figure that out, but just knowing that I have more time than I usually think I do.
That's a great point. And you probably don't have a pulse if you're not getting excited when you're shooting at a deer when you get an opportunity. It's built into our DNA for, thousands of years as hunter-gatherers. Like that meal in front of you, like maybe you were starving for 6-7 days and now you get to feed yourself and your tribe, and that opportunity to harvest that meat, it gives you such excitement and thrill. And I really feel like that's built into our DNA. But you make a great point, Sam. That's one of the toughest lessons you can learn, and also it's one that you continue to learn even, way into your bow hunting career. I still make mistakes, but for some reason, we get excited and our mind is telling us to hurry up. It's telling us to hurry up and draw back, to hurry up and shoot. And you're right, when you can learn those lessons on patience and not just settling your pin, but also waiting for the correct shot angle, waiting for a clear shot, like not trying to force the issue, letting it come to you and being patient and waiting for that, because so many times you try to force a situation or force an angle, and things can happen bad. Like, you really have to just sit there and be in the moment and calm yourself and go, no, I'm gonna wait for the right moment. I'm gonna wait for the right shot on this deer. Or sometimes the deer's bedded and you have like this tight window to tuck an arrow in there. And for me anymore, like, I've missed enough of those shots or messed up enough of those shots where I just say, nope, I'm gonna wait right here, and if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But if I do loose an arrow, I'm gonna hit this deer perfect. And so that patience, and then like you said, not just getting your pin on the animal and slapping the trigger, like really focusing. And we all hear pick a spot, but really thinking about that and really trying to pick that spot and hold your pin on that animal, like. It doesn't take much time. 2-3 seconds of extra aiming. It's amazing how much your aiming calms down on an animal. And sometimes I need 4 or 5 seconds. Like, I draw back and my pin is just erratic on that animal. Like, I can't even hardly keep it on the body. And in my younger years, I would have, my pin would have moved across the vitals. And like you said, I would have tried to make that shot go when my pin was in there. Where nowadays, like, I can take a breath or two, and all of a sudden my aiming starts to slow down, and my pin movement starts to kind of calm down and starts to hold where I want to hit. And then that's when I execute that shot. And I think also, like, having a mantra in your head, because it's easy to forget about everything you've learned in that moment. Like, you get in this fog of adrenaline and you stop thinking, and so, like, having a mantra that you have that really helps you, like, pick a spot. And if you say that to yourself on the stock, or like a weight on your shot, or I have all these different mantras, and it seems to change from year to year, but I try to focus on the most important thing, and then I keep repeating that to myself, so when I do get the opportunity, then I execute the correct way. But it's so important, and it seems so simple, like you practice with your bow and you're a good shot and you can shoot out to all these yardages, but having that animal in front of you, man, it's a different beast.
Yeah. It's I mean, that's why we do it, though. It's just that adrenaline rush of being right there in the right spot at the right time, and then trying everything in your power not to just screw that up.
Yep. And your mind also wants to force you to hurry up and get there too. We talk about that patience and waiting for the right shot angle, but for some reason, when you get 5 yards away from the ledge where you're going to shoot that muley from, or he should be on the other side, your mind's telling you, hurry up, see if he's there, hurry up, get to the ledge, and you end up, rustling the ground or making a little noise because you're moving too fast. And then when you get to that edge, that buck's staring right up that cliff right at you, and you don't get the opportunity. And so really trying to keep yourself calm and slow is so important.
That's really what it, especially on spot and stock mule deer stuff, that's really what it comes down to.
And the closer that you get, the slower you have to move, like the hands of a clock. You have to fight that urge to hurry up and see if he's there. And the way I try to look at it or think about it is, that, let's see, how do I put this in words that I'm not going to screw it up. Like, I'm not going to screw it up by moving too fast. Instead, I'm going to move at this slow pace, and if I get there, he's not going to know I'm there, and I'm going to get my shot. If he's gone by the time I get there because I took 30 seconds extra, so be it. But I'm not going to mess it up by trying to hurry or rush it.
Yeah. Well, really, I mean, if you've chosen to go in after an animal, what else do you have going on that day? It's not like there's zero reason to hurry because that's what you're doing in that moment. It's not like you're rushing through it to get to the next stock, because that's what your brain says. Like, okay, well, I need to do this faster. But if it takes you 9 hours, and then because you took that long and you shoot that animal, well, then it took you 9 hours. But if it takes you 4 hours and you blow the animal out of there, and then you got to go on 4 more stocks, you're tripling your time to have the same thing happen if you would have just slowed down and taken the time that it required to get it done the first time.
Yeah, that's so true. Your mind wants to hurry up, but like you said, you have nothing else going that day. Yeah. Like, you're actually stalking a deer, and that's what you're there for. Like, you better give it, all the effort you have, and give it all your focus. I had this buck in Colorado that I shot. It's been a couple years. I'm returning back to Colorado this year. I have a tag for the high country, which I just love, like 13,000 feet of alpine mule deer hunting. And the place I have doesn't have any pressure. It's me versus the deer, and there's a lot of bucks in there. And I had this giant buck, and it was like you said, like a 9-hour stalk all day long. I bedded him in his second bed and got up and above him and got in range, and he got up and moved away from me, didn't offer a shot, and I slipped down the hill. Well, finally, it's getting towards evening where the sun's starting to set and it's getting late. Like in the last spot, this buck bedded down. I was on this buck for 3 or 4 hours at like 45 yards, knelt down in the grass, and he stood up I think he stood up twice, and I drew back and started settling my pin, and then he turned around and bedded right back down. And finally, the third time he stood up, like as the sun's starting to set and starting to go, I have like maybe 40 minutes of light or so. He stands up, finally gives me the good angle, and I execute a perfect shot, and he walks about 20 yards and expires in seconds. The feeling of, like, I was just so proud of myself at the patience that I had. It was like next level patience, and it was like, I'm going to learn from this. This is how I'm going to treat every single stock. But it's so rewarding when you do play them right like that. Yep. Yeah, no, it's cool. There's in so many things, things can go wrong as you're sitting in range. I'm not a guy like throwing a rock or forcing the issue never seems to work for me. I have another saying that I always let the buck make the last move. So I always try to make the buck make the last mistake. So instead of trying to get around a bush to arrow a buck in his bed, I'll sit where the buck's behind the bush, and I'll wait for that buck to get up and then step out and make that final move. So I'm not like forcing the issue. I'm kind of letting the buck make the last move. Do you practice any of that on your mule deer stalking, like trying to be patient, not throwing the rock, waiting for him to get up, or how do you approach that?
Yeah, I used to try to get too close. So, I always want, it was always in my head, like, I'd close and that's why I screwed up so much. I would close the gap, and I'd get under 70 yards and be like, oh, I can get closer. And then I'd get under 50 yards and be like, okay, I can get closer. And then all of a sudden I'd be like, 25 yards from the deer, but there's no way I could have, pulled off a shot. And then I would try to force something and then just blow it out. So what I've started, this is just recently, what I've started to do is I will sneak into, if I can get to, say 50 yards in a very comfortable spot where I'm just waiting for that animal to stand up and either feed towards me when it's going to get back up, or it's going to go away, and then, figure out a way to pursue, and just close a few yards while it's up feeding. Or even like I'll get to 70 yards and be like, okay, the wind's good here. I've got plenty of cover. There's a pretty good chance, there's a 50-50 shot that he's going to stand up and come my direction, and he can close the last 30 yards, that I need him to close. And that seems to be helping my odds, but it's an ever learning process. And I'm excited to have, as many tags as I do in my pocket this year to really, really try to get better at that, and be better at being patient and see if I can't, have things go my way a few more times and learn from the successes rather than just, going home and eating tag soup.
Well, well, your insight is so good, Sam. Like, you're evolving your hunting, and it's funny. Like, to even harvest one mule deer, you have to get so proficient and learn so much. But you have a great approach to it. Like that, getting into striking distance or in not getting too close is a big move, because you're almost pushing to failure. You're like forcing the issue. You keep getting closer and closer and closer, and pretty soon, whether you force the issue or not, the issue gets forced. The deer smells you or hears you, or something goes wrong, or it's just and I love shooting mule deer up close. Like those are some of my most treasured hunts. But I'm with you. Like, I like to hold up in my effective range, or just even outside of my effective range is a great tip. Like in striking distance, and then close the last 20 yards when he's up feeding. you have such a great approach to it, because I think that's so important, is that holding up. And I like to hold up, just like you said, at 50. I like to hold up, 40 to 60, however the train kind of lays out, because that's
Yep.
kind of my sweet spot. I know I can make the shot, but I'm not 20 to 30 where that deer's, more apt to pick me up or pick up my sound or pick up my smell. So yeah, I think that's important in the process of spot and stalking. It's such a tough game, isn't it?
Yeah, and 2 years ago, I was on a hunt, and I think I was under 20 yards from three just really big deer, like over the course of the hunt. And at least, so one of the three, it was important to get in that close, and it just didn't go my way. That's a long story. But the other two, had I just stopped at like 45 to 50 yards, I had plenty of room to stop. If I would have just stopped and sat down, it was kind of broken clouds most of the days, and so like there was the beer was going to end up being in the sun relatively soon, and it would have stood up at 45 yards, not knowing I was there, in both two different situations, and I probably would have had a successful hunt. But no, I ended up like 4 yards from one deer. I think 12 yards from another deer, and then the 18 from another deer. And all three of them, I was just forcing it too hard and too fast. And, you just get to watch those big, beautiful antlers just run away. But yeah, so I am trying to evolve as a hunter, and fortunately in what I do, I get to spend a lot of time in the field, and that's really what it takes to learn. Both, a spot where you're hunting, but, just learning how, a fraction of the million different scenarios that can happen when you're out in the field, and you start to kind of put together, okay, in this situation, I need to do this. In this situation, I need to do this. And I think the more failure, it sucks, but I think the more you fail, the more you learn. And then when you do have a success, then you learn a lot. So
absolutely.
Trying to take a better approach to all forms of hunting. And I think, just getting a little bit older and doing it for a long time, you start to have a little bit more patience.
Yeah, I think that is a big part of it, but there's so many nuances to the stock and closing the deal, like things that you don't even think about, like trying to get a good range. Well, yeah, when you're in your flip-flops in your backyard hitting your target with your rangefinder, it's perfect. It works great.
Yeah.
But in the field, you're like crouched down behind the grass, and you don't want to expose yourself too high, and you're hitting the grass, or you don't know if you're getting a good range. Like, how many times have you been on a deer where you click your rangefinder 100 times to see if you got the right range?
Right.
But there's so many like nuances there too. Also like those movements of trying to get your bow drawn, or
Yep.
the deer stands up and looks at you. Do you wait till he starts feeding and looking away, or is he on to you? Do now you try to move ultra slow and try to bend the limbs back of your bow and try to get your pin on him? Or there's just so many nuances and so many things to learn that it's not like a textbook that you can read the right thing to do in every situation, because every situation is different. So the only thing you can do is keep honing your instincts and honing your skills, and then you just try to make the right moves, and you try to not make the wrong moves, or you try to let your instincts take over and make those right moves, and then be able to get the shot and hopefully harvest the animal. But it's weird how every situation is different, I think. Yep. And then you're hunting elk this year. Like elk, I tend to hunt elk a little bit more aggressively. They tend to move country and bed in thicker timber. How much experience do you have hunting elk?
I've hunted elk a lot, but I wouldn't say I don't have a lot of experience elk hunting. So I've had bad luck elk hunting. I've had some really good luck on an elk hunt a few years back. So I'm hoping to really, this year, usually I'm filming a lot in September. So this year I blocked off enough time where I'll really be able to soak up the experience and kind of immerse myself into, instead of trying to rush 2 to 3 days at a time or whatever it might be. I've got, a solid 9 to 10 days to just really go in and hammer it out and see if I can't, be successful. But So far in my career, the elk hunting has not been what I'm best at. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, public land elk are one of the toughest animals to harvest consistently. Like, they're so difficult here in Montana, where you have a tag. Like, we get a lot of opportunity here in Montana, but that also means higher pressure elk, and the sought after elk tags they're tougher to get because there's fewer of them, and a lot of guys are, the archery elk hunting thing has been popular for years, and so, guys really want those tags. So, man, it is tough on those bulls. And sometimes I play them like a mule deer patiently, but I would say on average, I play elk more aggressively. Like, I see elk, I don't stalk them recklessly. I'm not going to make mistakes, outright and up front, but, I'm going to move in with the herd, and I'm going to see what I can make happen and kind of shadow the herd or coyote the herd and try to wait for my opportunity to close in and seal the deal. But if I see elk a long ways off, I'm not going to sit and watch them for days. Like, I'm going to go get into them and see if I can make something happen. So it seems to me like it's a little bit more aggressive hunting, and you still have to move ultra slow when you're close, not let them catch your movement, the same you would with a mule deer. But I'm just more apt to go get into them, I'd say, when I'm hunting elk.
Yeah, and I think that's right. And the one nice thing about elk, and what I've learned from successful hunters, is because they're such a range animal, they're free, like they really nomadic. Rather than like a deer that has been living in that 30-acre piece all summer or whatever it might be, because elk are on the move so much, you can be a little bit more aggressive because they're not going to notice you hunkered up next to a tree hiding, they're not going to notice that that's out of place because they are so infrequently in that location. So I think it gives you a little bit more room to be more aggressive and dive into the herd rather than being so meticulous.
Yeah, that's a good point about being nomadic, and also, your opportunity may be fleeting. Like, I've had multiple times where I'm on a big bull that night and I think, no, it's not right tonight. I'm going to make a move on him in the morning. And the morning comes and I can't find that bull for the life of me.
Right.
He's just gone. Like, they have a circuit of feeding meadows and a circuit of country that they like where they are nomadic and moving. And sometimes you find them where they're hanging in one drainage or basin, for a couple days that they like. It's got everything they need. But yeah, nomadic by nature, and so they're always moving. So sometimes, that opportunity of locating a bull like that may be your opportunity that you have to try to seize the moment.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Yeah. Well, you're going to have fun this year. And one, you talked about filming for Jason Matzinger. Gosh, what a great job you do, Sam. Some of that footage you guys put together is absolutely amazing. And Jason's a really skilled elk hunter as well. Boy, he's killed a lot of bulls. And so it's nice to be able to learn and hunt with people like that, right? And gain some of the knowledge and some of their insight, how they approach elk hunting. And we all have our unique way of going about it, but it's always good to compare notes and to learn from somebody that is successful like that.
Oh yeah, spending a lot of time with him, it's been invaluable to just the amount that I've learned from, how the way he does things, and then in comparison to the way other guys do things, and you start to pick up on all these little tips and tricks and whatever that going through, and just, even though I'm behind the lens and I'm not the one with the tag, I get to be part of all these different scenarios and what you should do, so I've learned a lot through that. So, yeah, it's been really fun, and making films with him and stuff, and filming it makes it, the places that he hunts and the scenery and stuff, it makes it pretty easy to put together some pretty solid video.
Yeah. Yeah. Really solid video. Like, some of the best. You guys do a great job. Well, and like you get a chance to learn from those experiences too, with not all the heartache. I mean, there's heartache when you don't get the footage or you watch your buddy that isn't successful, but you get to have these encounters with them and play them a certain way, and that gets logged into your experience and into your instincts as well. So you're picking up so much valuable information. Like, just being in the woods, you're learning. Yep. And then paying attention to it too.
Right, exactly. And again, it's just, time in the field. It makes all the difference.
Well, and I noticed too, like you got to let your ego go when you mess up an opportunity or some mistake happens. And I always try to, like, I'm trying to enjoy my experience to the fullest out there. And so, like, it's crushing when you spook a big mule deer, or you spook an elk that you want to harvest, and you work so hard for this opportunity and you have so much into it. You may have days into it, and then you mess up an opportunity. But I always try to look at it as a learning experience, and I always try to say, well, that was worth the price of admission. Like, that's why I'm here, is to get close to elk, and that was so thrilling, that encounter. Like, my heart was beating out of my chest. Like, that was fun. That's why I do it. But then also letting that ego go of making an excuse why it went wrong, and really trying to look at the encounter objectively and trying to figure out, now, how could I done that better? Was it a mistake I made by trying to rush it? Did I get in and the wind swirled? Maybe I should have waited until I had a more consistent afternoon. But I think letting that ego go and just saying, yeah, I made a mistake, or there was a better way to do things, or hindsight's always 20/20. Like, just trying to absorb all that information, I think, is really important in our evolution as hunters.
Yeah, yep, that's exactly right. And I think it's really important. This is I was a collegiate athlete. I threw disc and hammer in college, and it's, to make an analogy, it's having a bad throw. You have to have a short memory, right? So if you go in and you screw up, a stock or a call set or whatever it might be, and you blow the animals out of there, you can be upset about it or whatever, but you got to have a short memory and just get back in the game and not just get into your own head, because it's really easy to talk yourself. It's really easy to talk yourself out of, like I screwed that one up, like it's not going to go right, and then you talk yourself out of staying the whole hunt, or whatever it might be. It's going full circle back to the beginning of the podcast. It's that 6 inches between your ears that you need to keep in check.
Oh, man. Yeah, that brings up so many memories in my head too. Yeah, you can let it get the best of you, can't you? And so, yeah, you need to learn from it, but you can't dwell on it, or it'll just bring you down into the dumps, and like you say, ruin your whole hunt. Or you feel like you're so close to this opportunity and worked so hard for it, and then you screwed it up. You almost feel like, what's the point? I should just head home. I got my opportunity. But the quicker you can get yourself back into the game and back into the hunt, and I always focus on the redemption. Like, if I missed a shot or messed up a stock, it's like, man, I really want to get another opportunity, because I know I can get it right. I know I can make that shot. Like, I just need another chance. I need another opportunity, and I start focusing on that. And once you get back into the hunt, the pain starts to leave you pretty quick. You just get, like, you immerse yourself back into the challenge of trying to harvest an animal, and all of a sudden your head's back in the game.
Yep. That's exactly right.
Yep.
But it's all about focusing on just focus on the positives, focus on the redemption.
Yeah. And it's funny how you relate it to, your college days and sports, and I related a lot to wrestling, but there's so many correlations between hunting and life, and you learn so many great life lessons out there, in hunting. It's just it's so great that we have passion for this, or have a place for our energy and our effort. It's just so cool. I enjoy it so much, and talking to you, I know you enjoy it too.
Yeah, I really do. It's pretty much fanatical about it. So
Well, right on, man. It's been so fun to talk to you. Yeah, good luck this year. I'm gonna keep up with you on social media and see how you do. It sounds like you got a bunch of good tags in your pocket, so it's gonna be fun to see what you turn up, and fun to see that public land bus cruising around again.
Yeah, hey, thanks again for having me on, and looking forward to seeing how you do, and I'm sure we'll be in touch throughout the course of the season.
Yeah, let's do it. All right, thanks, Sam.
Yeah, thanks, Brian.
All right, guys, that's a wrap. Really fun talking to Sam. I just love those authentic hunting conversations, and I love to have a theme for the podcast, but I also like just jumping on, just talking about, whatever's on our minds, and whatever's relevant to the time of year. And Sam was just a great guest, and just get on and start talking Western hunting and TAC and public lands, and just really enjoyed the conversation. Sam's a great guy. he does so many things for our public lands, like the public land bus. Just an amazing product that he's put together, or project he's put together. And then I like how he's living the life he wants to live. He's living his passion, that he started it with a dream and not much money, photographing and videoing, and just his story is so fun to hear. And it's fun to hear everybody's story in the industry. As you know, mine is the same way. It was just something I wanted, and it was my passion, and something I keep working towards, and I keep getting more and more opportunities. So I love hearing those stories. Thanks to Sam for being on the podcast. I sure appreciate it. And thanks to our sponsor today, High Mountain Seasonings. High Mountain Seasonings makes everything for processing your game. They've got snack stick kits. They've got sausage kits. The jerky seasoning, which I mentioned, I did 2 different flavors, did a bunch of jerky for this hunting season, and I'm just stoked. It came out really good. It's like that jerky is something that it just takes a lot of time no matter how you do it. I've done it out of smokers, I've done it, in the oven, and now I've got a dehydrator, and the dehydrator gives it heat to 165, but it seems like these smokers, it's never like you just turn it on and forget it. It's like you're rotating racks and you're flipping jerky, and you just really got to pay attention to it to have it come out good. And everybody's jerky is different. Like, you get your own style to it. But I really enjoy doing it. I need to get into doing my own summer sausage a little bit more. It's the one thing that I still have processed. I do all my butchering, I do all my steaks, all my burger, all my jerky, but the summer sausage, I've got a place that's got a really good recipe. They add cheese and jalapenos to it. So I would like to start doing that myself. I just need to take the time to do it in the wintertime. But for you guys processing your own meat and doing your own kits, High Mountain Seasoning has everything for it. So make sure to check them out. Check out their website. Thanks to those guys for sponsoring the podcast. And yeah, like I say, I think I talked to about everybody from Eastmans today, just checking in with things. Yeah, I'm just stoked at this footage we put together, and then the Nevada hunt and this caribou hunt, and it's really fun to be able to capture it in a film. And I tell you guys all the time, like, anything that you do in life, you don't just start and you're instantly good at it, and that includes filming. I would go on all these great adventures and think, if I could capture this on film, it'd be the best film made. And when I started doing it, not that I haven't produced some good films that I'm proud of, I absolutely have, but you just learn every time. You get more comfortable talking into the camera. You figure out what's important for the storyline. You figure out what B-roll shots edit in good, so you got clips of everything you're doing, from hiking to glassing to filling up water to close up of your boots to close up of the grass to a time lapse or whatever the case is. And man, I just feel like I'm taking it to that next level and really producing some good content. So I can't wait for Eastmans to get this edited down, released out to you guys. I'm hoping it makes the outdoor channel for an episode, and I'm also hoping it makes a Beyond the Grid and internet, on the internet where I can share it with everybody. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep working away. I got one more hunt to film. This next one's just a personal project to Colorado, so this is gonna be fun too, where I can just really focus on killing a quality buck and not worry about the footage. It's something I enjoy to do, but I also enjoy to just be out there hunting, just worrying about me and killing a trophy buck. And man, the execution too means the world to me. Like executing on an animal, to get just the clean kill shot right where you want it, and watch, like, that Nevada buck took 20 steps and was dead within 10 seconds, perfect double lung shot, stood up and I was patient waiting for the shot, waited for him to turn before I drew. I did everything right. And then that solid execution, when you put a perfect shot on him, just means the world to me. I mean, I absolutely love bow hunting. It runs through my veins. It's something that'll never get old. I'll never get tired of. I love every hunt and I love every challenge, but Anyways, this isn't a solo episode. I get carried away when I get thinking about these hunts, and I'm just so psyched and so pumped just coming off these hunts. So get some work done, then I'm headed to Colorado, and hunting season comes all at once. It's time to really enjoy it, put all the hard work in, and it's paying off now, and I just can't wait to go embark on another adventure here. So I'm going to get this out to you guys, get out an episode for next week while I'm gone, and should be good to go here for a little bit. So thanks as always, guys, for the support. I got some messages lately at some guys that were successful that attributed to listening to the podcast in our community. I know that's not all what it is. It's them making the decision to be persistent and to be out hunting and to give it their all and not making shortcuts, but getting them this information out and getting you guys this information. It helps when you're out there because it's always more difficult than you think it's going to be, and it's always more challenging to arrow a trophy animal. I mean, at some points, it almost seems like mission impossible, but you just keep trying and you keep putting in the effort and you keep theorizing, and eventually things just come together. At least that's the way it works for me, and I think that's the way it works for everyone, you know? So work hard towards your goals this hunting season. Keep pushing hard. Look over the next hill. No shortcuts. Do whatever it takes, and I know you guys will see some more success. So thanks a bunch for all the support, guys. I really appreciate it. Check in with you guys next week.